Ever seen a tractor so small, so rare, or just so downright odd that you had to look twice? Well, today we're diving into a lineup of 10 mini American crawler tractors you won't believe actually exist. From war-tested machines to backyard powerhouses, these pint-sized legends helped shape the heavy equipment world, one steel track at a time. Whether you're a vintage iron junkie or just love old-school engineering, this list is gonna surprise you, so buckle up. We're crawling back in time. Number 10, the Cletrac Model F. Now here's a little crawler that helped pave the way, literally and figuratively. Released back in the early 1930s by the Cleveland Tractor Company, the Cletrac Model F wasn't just another piece of farm equipment. This machine was ahead of its time. With a tough-as-nails 4-cylinder gasoline engine under the hood, the Model F brought serious power in a compact, lightweight package. Unlike traditional wheeled tractors that struggled in the mud, the Model F's track system glided over rough, soggy terrain like a champ. It didn't just plow fields, it tackled everything from farmland to construction sites during the toughest years of the Great Depression. Farmers loved it, contractors trusted it, and collectors today, they obsess over it. What made it special wasn't just the engineering, it was the timing. This was a machine built for hardworking Americans during one of the nation's toughest eras. It showed up when reliability mattered most and delivered. Sadly, the company hit financial troubles and production didn't last long. But make no mistake, the Cletrac Model F left a mark. Its DNA is in every crawler that came after it. And if you've ever seen one at a vintage tractor show, you know exactly why folks stop and stare. It's more than a machine, it's a piece of American grit. Got memories of seeing one of these in action? Or maybe your grandpa had one sitting out back? Drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear your story. And hey, if you're enjoying these rare crawler finds, go ahead and tap that like button and subscribe. We're just getting started. Number 9, the John Deere 440C. Now this one's a bit of a hidden gem from the late 1950s. When John Deere released the 440C crawler, they weren't just tossing another machine into the mix, they were laying down a serious marker in the world of compact dozers. This wasn't some oversized, hard-to-haul brute. It was a tight, diesel-powered crawler pushing out about 65 horsepower. But don't let the numbers fool you. This thing was a workhorse. Farmers, loggers, and contractors all swore by its reliability. Whether you were clearing land, grading a slope, or muscling through brush, the 440C held its own day after day. One thing that stood out was its hydraulic system. Smooth, responsive, and ahead of its time for a machine this size. And the operator station? You actually had room to work, good visibility, and controls that made sense, which, back then, wasn't always guaranteed. The undercarriage was built like a tank. Seriously, heavy-duty track frames, a reinforced chassis, and a reputation for shrugging off abuse like it was nothing. That's why even now, you'll spot 440Cs out there. Restored, repainted, and still getting their tracks dirty. It might not be as famous as the D-Series or newer John Deere crawlers, but make no mistake, the 440C was a stepping stone. It helped carve out Deere's place in the construction world, and its DNA is baked into everything that came after. Number 8, the Holt 2-ton. Now here's a machine that didn't just make history, it hauled it. Long before Caterpillar became a global giant, there was the Holt Manufacturing Company. And in the early 1900s, they rolled out a machine that looked like something straight out of a Jules Verne novel. The Holt 2-ton crawler wasn't flashy, but it was revolutionary. This little crawler was powered by a rugged 2-cylinder gasoline engine. Just 2 cylinders, but enough muscle to drag 2 tons of equipment over ground where horses would panic and wagons would sink. That alone made it a favorite among early farmers and loggers who needed brute force without the bulk. But where this tractor really made its mark was in the mud-soaked trenches of World War I. The US military scrambling for a way to move artillery, and supplies through terrain that swallowed wheels whole turned to Holt, and the 2-ton delivered. Its steel tracks and low center of gravity meant it could crawl over shell craters, pull heavy loads, and keep moving long after horses would have dropped. You've got to picture it, this compact crawler chugging through the muck with canvas-covered gear lashed to the back, doing a job that no one imagined a machine this size could do. Soldiers didn't just use it, they depended on it, and they started calling it something kind of poetic, a caterpillar. The name stuck, and eventually so did the legacy. By modern standards, the Holt 2-ton looks primitive. No cab, no electronics, no hydraulics, just gears, iron, and grit. But every modern dozer and track loader we see today owes something to this humble machine. It was one of the first to prove that tracks could replace wheels. Not just in theory, but in the real, muddy, unforgiving world. And that's why collectors and museums still seek out the 2-ton. It's not just a tractor. It's a symbol, a relic from a time when America was inventing the future one bolt at a time, and the world was watching. Number 7, the Caterpillar 10. If there's one machine that proved big things can come in small packages, it's this little workhorse from the early 1930s. We're talking about a crawler that tipped the scales at just over 4,000 pounds. That's light by dozer standards, but don't let the size fool you. The Cat 10 could push, and it could hustle in tight spaces where bigger machines simply couldn't go. Powered by a compact 3-cylinder gasoline engine, putting out around 15 to 20 horsepower, depending on the configuration. It was designed for small farms, orchards, and utility work long before compact equipment became a buzzword. The Cat 10 didn't need bells and whistles. It had solid tracks, a simple mechanical clutch, and just enough blade power to grade, trench, or clear land without breaking a sweat. Or your budget. What made it a favorite was its dependability. Owners didn't just run these machines, they trusted them day after day, year after year. What's really special is how this model helped bring Caterpillar into the world of small-scale operators. Before this, tracked machines were massive, industrial beasts, but the 10 brought track technology to people who didn't own acres of land, folks who needed a reliable crawler to do precise work. Landscapers, orchard owners, and even hobby farmers found that sweet spot with the Cat 10, and talk to anyone who's restored one today and you'll hear the same thing. It just runs. The parts are simple, the layout is straightforward, and the design, timeless. Some versions came with angled blades or rear winches for specialty tasks. Even early PTO setups. It was versatile before versatility was even a marketing term, while it was eventually phased out for newer models with more power and updated features. The Caterpillar 10 carved out its legacy in Caterpillar's story. It's one of the machines that helped define what a small dozer could be and set the tone for compact crawler innovation that would follow for decades. Today, you'll still see them at shows, in sheds, and every now and then, still working the soil. And when you do, it's hard not to smile, because the Cat 10 doesn't just represent old iron, it represents smart engineering, practical power, and a little piece of American ingenuity on tracks. Number 6, the Terratrac GT30. Now here's one that most folks have never seen in action, and that's exactly what makes it so fascinating. Built in the 1950s by International Harvester, the GT30 wasn't your average crawler. At a glance, it looked like something straight off a sci-fi farm, and for its time, it sort of was. Instead of the typical steel tracks, this machine ran on a flexible rubber belt undercarriage. That might not sound wild today, but back then, it was almost unheard of. The idea was simple but forward-thinking. Give farmers the traction of a crawler without tearing up the soil. Traditional tracks did their job, but they also compacted the ground and left deep ruts behind. The GT30's rubber tracks aimed to change that. The ride was smoother, the field damage was lighter, and the traction was surprisingly strong for a 45 horsepower machine. Under the hood was a 6-cylinder V-belt driven engine. Classic International Harvester engineering. Reliable, tough, and powerful enough for row crops, tillage, and even pulling sprayers or cultivators. It could be equipped with all sorts of implements, making it a truly versatile tool, at least in theory. The problem? It was expensive, and not just to buy. But to keep running. That rubber belt system was more complicated than most folks were ready for, and when something went wrong, it wasn't always easy to fix, so despite all its promise, the GT30 never made it big. Fewer units were sold, and it quietly faded into history. But looking back, the GT30 wasn't a failure. It was ahead of its time. It pushed the boundaries of how tractors could work with the land instead of just dominating it. And if you look at modern ag machinery today, low compaction tracks, wide flotation systems, precision traction, you'll see shadows of the GT30's influence. Today, finding one is a rarity, but for collectors and tractor historians, the Terratrac GT30 is more than just a machine. It's a reminder of a time when innovation meant taking bold risks, even if the world wasn't quite ready for it yet. Number 5, the Caterpillar D2. Now here's a machine that earned its place in the dirt, one job at a time. Introduced in the 1930s and built well into the 1950s, the D2 was Caterpillar's answer to a growing demand for smaller, more versatile, tracked machines. Not every job called for a massive bulldozer. Sometimes you just needed something nimble, reliable, and tough as nails. That's where the D2 came in. Under the hood, it packed a 4-cylinder diesel engine that pushed out around 40 horsepower. That might not sound like much today, but back then, it was more than enough to get real work done. Grading roads, skidding logs, digging ponds, clearing brush. The D2 didn't need to be the biggest. It just needed to be unstoppable. Its narrow frame gave it surprising agility. It could maneuver in places larger dozers wouldn't dare go. Tight forest trails, narrow job sites, or between rows of crops. And with those wide tracks, it spread its weight evenly, giving it a light footprint that was easy on soft soil and muddy terrain. What really made the D2 special was its balance between simplicity and performance. It had just the right mix of rugged mechanics and practical features. No extra fluff, just solid engineering. Over the years, Caterpillar refined the model with variations. Some had angled blades for more precise grading. Others came with rear winches or PTOs for pulling stumps or powering equipment. And here's the part that really tells you how well it was built. Many D2s are still running today. You'll find them on rural farms, tucked away in barns, or growling to life at vintage equipment shows. Often started with their signature hand crank or pony motor. They've been patched, painted, and brought back to life by folks who know their worth. The D2 wasn't flashy. It didn't need to be. It was a tool, one that worked hard, day in and day out. And in a world that's always chasing the next big thing, machines like the D2 remind us that sometimes it's the modest ones that leave the deepest tracks. Number 4, the best 25. Now this is where raw American horsepower met the dawn of a new farming era. Back in the early 1920s, the Best Tractor Company was already making waves with its big steam-powered brutes. But as gasoline engines began proving their worth, Best shifted gears, literally, and introduced a gas-powered crawler that would help shape the future. That machine was the Best 25. It didn't just look powerful, it was powerful. Built with a massive 4-cylinder engine, the Best 25 cranked out about 25 drawbar horsepower. That might sound modest now, but 100 years ago, that was muscle. It was the kind of grunt that could pull heavy plows through tough soil all day long. No complaints, no breakdowns. Its high-wheel design wasn't just for show either. Those tall steel tracks helped the machine clear crops, climb over ruts, and navigate rough, uneven ground like it was nothing. It was made for serious work, and it looked the part. Big, bold, and built to last. But here's where the story gets interesting. In 1925, the Best Tractor Company merged with Holt, a move that gave birth to a brand we all know today, Caterpillar. After the merger, the Best 25 continued briefly under the new name, the Caterpillar 25, marking one of the earliest models to carry the iconic yellow bloodline. You won't find many of these machines running today, but you will find them preserved. Museums, collectors, restorers, they know what they've got. Because the Best 25 wasn't just a machine, it was a turning point, a bridge between steam engines and the gas-powered revolution that followed, a symbol of grit, progress, and the American farmer's fight to tame the land with iron and fire. And when you see one in person, still towering on those old steel tracks, it's not just a relic, it's a reminder that everything big starts somewhere, sometimes with just 25 horsepower and a whole lot of determination. Number 3, the Oliver Cletrac HG, a machine that didn't roar for attention, but quietly earned respect wherever it worked. Born out of a post-war merger between the Cleveland Tractor Company and Oliver Farm Equipment, the Cletrac HG hit the fields in the late 1940s. And right away, it brought something special to the table. A perfect balance of compact design, smart engineering, and raw, dependable power. Under the hood, it ran a 4-cylinder Waukesha gasoline engine that pushed out about 30 drawbar horsepower. Not the biggest number you'll hear today, but for its size. It punched way above its weight, whether it was plowing through heavy soil or pulling a loaded trailer. The HG handled it with ease. Its narrow track width wasn't just a design choice, it was a solution. This crawler could slip between tight orchard rows, squeeze through vineyards, and work land that bigger machines just couldn't touch. It was a favorite among fruit growers and specialty farmers who needed precision and strength in one package. But what really set it apart part was how it felt to operate. The ride was smoother than you'd expect for a steel-tracked machine, and the controls were simple and responsive. Some versions even came with fully enclosed cabs, a real luxury at the time. Imagine working through wind, rain, or dust with a bit of comfort and protection. Rare features back then, especially on a compact crawler. Oliver built the HG to be more than just a farm tractor. With the right attachments, it could dig, lift, tow, you name it. Farmers, contractors, and even the military found uses for it. It was a workhorse wrapped in a compact frame, always ready to get dirty and get the job done. Today, the Cletrac HG is a collector's gem, not just because it's rare, but because it represents a time when machines were built with heart, built to last, built to serve, and built to adapt. For those who've had the chance to operate one, it's more than just a tractor. It's a memory, a legacy, and a symbol of clever American engineering done right. Number 2, the Case 310G. Now here's a machine that didn't just show up to work, it showed up to perform. Released in the late 1990s, the Case 310G came at a time when contractors were demanding more from compact equipment. They needed something powerful but not oversized, something dependable but still versatile. Case understood the assignment and delivered. At the heart of the 310G was a turbocharged diesel engine pushing around 57 horsepower. On paper, that might not seem earth-shattering, but in practice, this machine had guts. With a strong radial lift loader arm and reinforced steel frame, it offered serious lifting capacity and breakout force. Whether it was hauling gravel, lifting pallets, or powering attachments like augers or grapples, the 310G didn't hesitate. It just worked. And it wasn't all brawn either. Case put a lot of thought into the operator's seat. The cab design offered clear sightlines, which meant better precision in tight quarters. Add in intuitive controls, climate control for all-season comfort, and you had a space that didn't feel like a punishment after 8 hours on the job. That kind of operator-friendly setup made a big difference on busy sites where time and fatigue mattered. The 310G was also a favorite in the rental world, not just because it could take a beating, but because it was easy to service. Mechanics appreciated how accessible everything was, and owners loved how little downtime it needed. Fuel efficiency was another win, especially for small businesses trying to keep operating costs under control. Even today, the influence of the 310G is easy to spot in modern skid steers. Many of the design ideas Case introduced, from loader geometry to cab layout, have become industry standards, and you'll still find 310Gs running strong on farms, in landscaping crews, and at construction sites across the country. Machines like this don't fade away. They get passed down, rebuilt, and used again because they're just that reliable. The Case 310G didn't try to be flashy, it just did the job. Every day, every site, no complaints. And in the world of heavy equipment, that's exactly what earns a machine its legend. And finally, number 1 on our list, the John Deere Lindeman BO Crawler. Now this is where history, rarity, and innovation all meet. Developed back in the early 1920s, the Lindeman BO wasn't just another tractor, it was a bold experiment that quietly set the stage for the modern crawler as we know it. The story starts with Warren Lindeman, an independent engineer with a vision. He teamed up with John Deere to create a machine that could handle rough, uneven terrain better than anything else available at the time. What they came up with was a modified version of the John Deere Model BO, only this one ditched the wheels. But for a custom track system, using a unique chain and wheel drive setup, the Lindeman BO became one of the earliest examples of a tracked agricultural machine. Only a handful of these machines were ever produced, making them extremely rare. We're talking museum-grade collectible here, but even though it didn't go into mass production, the impact was real. This prototype proved that crawler tractors could work on farms just as well as on construction sites, especially in areas where soft soil made wheeled tractors useless. What's most fascinating is how ahead of its time the Lindeman BO really was. It delivered more torque to the ground, offered better traction on slopes and wet soil, and gave farmers a glimpse of what tractors could do if you thought beyond 4 wheels. In a lot of ways, it paved the way for future machines from both John Deere and competitors alike. Today, surviving examples of the Lindeman BO are preserved in museums and private collections, where they're treated less like farm equipment and more like artifacts. They represent a moment in history when American engineering took a leap, quietly but meaningfully, toward the future of mechanized farming. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't mass-produced, but it was a spark, a mechanical first draft that helped inspire generations of crawlers to come. And for that reason alone, the John Deere Lindeman BO crawler earns its place at the very top of our list. So, there you have it, 10 of the smallest crawler tractors that left a huge mark on American machinery history. It's amazing how much power and innovation were packed into these little beasts, right? If you enjoyed this trip through time, go ahead and drop a like, leave a comment with your favorite model, or share a story if you've seen one in action. And if vintage tractors are your thing, hit that subscribe button. We've got more Iron Legends coming your way.